What up, Des Rose? What up? What's up? What up? Not too much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You should be able to hear me. I'm hoping you can hear me. What's up? What up? What's up? Can anybody hear me? Oh, that's what's up. Yes, we can hear you. Oh, okay. Cool. All right, his husness. What's going on? What's good? That's what's up though. You were at the South LA protest tonight after the man that was well, I don't know if it was a man, but somebody, I think it was a man that was killed today by in LA. It's fucking wild. They're not gonna stop. They're not gonna stop. They're doing the one thing that they're trained for. They don't know how to do anything else. You know, it's fucking crazy. And I mean, all right, what's going on? Been Better comic. He was 18. Yeah, that's fucking crazy, dude. I mean, it doesn't matter what age. I mean, they'll kill a child, they'll kill an animal, they'll kill an elderly person. You know what I'm saying? They'll kill somebody who's already crippled or whatever. They'll beat the shit out of somebody who's already dead. You know, and you know, it's. I actually wanted to come on here and talk about the. Let me change the filter right now. It's a little less annoying. I wanted to actually talk about. I don't know how many more people are going to come through, but I wanted to talk about the situation in Kenosha, Michigan, where that, or excuse me, not that, well, yeah, Kenosha, where that 17-year-old Rittenhouse or whatever, he traveled, over into the state and ended up killing two people, one person at the protest, and then one um, after when he went back on his way back home. Wisconsin, thank you, Kent. And I think he might have come over from Michigan or maybe even Illinois. Maybe I'm just mixing up all the shit because there's so much going on at the same time. But yeah, that was Kenosha, Wisconsin, and then you had the more recent one, as far as like protesters versus like counter protesters, where supposedly this BLM, this white guy who was a BLM activist and came from Illinois. Okay, cool, thank you for that. I'm getting this. This is the first time I've gone live on IG. So, oh yeah, complete psycho. I mean, a lot of these dudes are psychopaths, or just, they get so polarized and pushed to think that the only way to, deal with their issues is to, that fantasy role play. Let me go pick up my weapon. Let me get my body armor. Blah 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 blah. They chum me with the police. Saying because they all have that authoritarian bent in them, and they go out and figure out the two. They're find out when they actually try to commit to that stuff. They're a little too chicken shit to really deal with the consequences of it. Because there's video of Kyle hitting a girl. Oh yeah, there's all kinds. I mean, they're gonna dig up any. They're gonna dig up any and everything. But I have seen the video that you mentioned about Kyle hitting a girl and whatnot. Cod lopping. Yeah, basically, it's all LARPing. Saying unfortunately the consequences are very real. Saying because people die, people, saying lose lands, people, whenever they have criminal records for the rest of their life. But the one I really wanted to talk about that really struck me was the one where that white guy, he killed it was another white guy, but it was somebody who identified as being 100% Antifa, which is anti-fascist, and also being a BLM activist, apparently. And he shot dead a member of the far right-wing, I don't know if they're a militia group, but they're at least a far right group in general called Patriot Prayer. And and all these, and I know some people, they get really squeamish about violence and whatnot. I'm not squeamish about violence. It's not because I enjoy it or because I think it's fun, but because it's the necessary component of this shit. It's like at the end of the day, all of these systems are enforced by some means. The key part of that being force. That whatever means they're using, whether it's mental manipulation, economic, or or really just the other end of a gun, blasting them straight up. Yeah, you sure did. You sure did. I don't know the exact. I heard supposedly that the Patriot Prayer guy, that he was trying to mace the other dude, and so the other guy retaliated. But it's basically this wild west. The police aren't really stopping them because they really agree with like the right wingers, the far right people, even though they're ones who instigate all the violence. But to me, because I see a lot of people doing the hand wringing of condemning violence, lawlessness is not the answer. I mean, but the thing is, dude, is that lawlessness is ambiguous. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever, like all values and morals, judgments and whatnot are subjective. It's one, and the thing is that like, even if you were to say, okay, strictly what is violence that's allowed within the law, there's a lot of arguments being made. I mean, the argument that's being made from conservatives, big and small, is that Kyle Rittenhouse, for example, was strictly acting in self-defense. Because there was the first victim was trying to disarm him, hitting him with his skateboard, right? So the thing is, if you want to talk, once again, it's like it's there's two completely different boundaries of what an individual finds to be morally acceptable and what's within the law. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's in the law for you to be able to own another human being and shit, does that make it any more moral or less moral for you as an individual? So, but the thing is, the fact remains is that like when you stack it up, when you line it up, when you look at the stats, 99.9% of these attacks, that these things that happen that result in deaths and serious injuries, happen because of people who identify as far right. Yeah, that doesn't mean that there aren't people who identify as liberal or leftist and whatnot, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, the FBI already has confirmed this over and over and over again, that they multiple times have tried to send reports to get different, the president, including Trump, and other leaders, to say, hey, there's been a surge in white supremacist violence or white nationalist or extreme white identity, saying type shit. And the thing is, morality should never be determined by the law. He murders some of these far right groups are out of control. Right. Right. So hold on a second, guys. Is morality should never be determined by the law. I mean, the thing is, dude, is that like our laws are meant to be an expression of the general morality, and then they like basically they help to they serve as a signal saying like, hey, in general, this is what we have. And then there's, exceptions to the rules or whatnot, and then of course the law, looking at the law and being critical of it can help inform one's morality. So I don't think that it should just be like, I don't look at it as like, oh, it shouldn't be a separate thing. But part of the issue right now is that we're having a discussion. Right. Yeah. Morality is subjective. That's what I said, is that the thing is, all of this shit is subjective, because even the laws don't even get applied equally across the board, which once again, I want to go back into the point about, the far right groups are out of control. And so I'm not saying that like, oh, everybody who's a leftist or that like go out and shoot anybody or hurt anybody who is on the right, you know what I'm saying? But just understand where most of it, the violence and destruction, is really coming from, and that what it takes to actually curtail it, what it means to stop it. Because if the police were going to stop it, you know what I'm saying, then we wouldn't have this issue of white extremists infiltrating, infiltrating the military, infiltrating the police, infiltrating, everywhere. I mean, the law, there's white supremacist lawyers and judges and saying CEOs and shit, and that's just talking about explicit bias. I mean, everything's not social construction. I mean, people do have, it's both. It's a mixture of both. It's a gradient, right? So there's parts of this shit that is social construction, right? or can be seen as, just being a result of certain systems and different systems and different, saying codes of conduct that are generally accepted, right? But then you also have personal autonomy, saying, and I'm somebody, I don't think that we have 100% free will, but we do have some degree of will. We do have some degree of being able to take shit in our own hands and decide, make, little decisions in our life. And I think that when you start making the decision to, it's one thing to have the ideology, and then it's another thing to say, I'm going to go out there, like, get a gun, and I'm going to go out there looking for shit. And I'm going to go over there and try to get chummy with the other authority figures who are being criticized in this situation, and, and be all buddy-buddy with them. So that's why I'm like, oh, shit, I didn't even realize my microphone fell. I don't know how much of that y'all heard, or how the sound even is. Yeah, but personal autonomy is post-structural. Nah, I don't look at it like that. I don't I don't think this is like a chicken or the egg thing where you can say for sure one thing predates the other. They both, I think that they both occur at the same, to different degrees. Once again, it's a gradient scale. There is a certain level of because if the thing is, if it was the same, if it was all post-structural, cool. Because the thing is, if personal autonomy was strictly post-structural or even mostly post-structural, then you wouldn't. Then yes, of course, that's what I'm saying. But the thing is that like personal autonomy can also be pre-structural, because when structures are not already there, or when structures need to be redesigned and whatnot, that requires the initiative of certain parties to create new ones, because those structures don't just start off of nowhere. I think it's easier to say that, everything else being equal, or as far as just like, before, there was always a time when shit was not around. And so in order to make that shit be around, it took, saying the drive of individuals and groups. So it's they intertwine. Yeah. So it can be pre-structural, post-structural, and whatnot. But really, I mean, getting to the point of this shit is, I mean, it's control of chaos. It's for consideration of it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, structure is obviously important. I don't think there's any disagreement about that. I just tend to look at all this stuff as, like it's all relative. It's all contextual. Sometimes the structure will be the greater factor, sometimes the personal autonomy, personal responsibility, because otherwise, because otherwise then you get a situation where people just do fucked up shit, and it's just like, oh, I was just doing my job, I was just following orders and shit, I was just going along with the superstructure, and what can I do as an individual, but really sticking to the point of, talking about like people who identify as left wing or liberal versus right wing or even center right, conservative, is that the numbers are in, the facts are in. We've listened to their media. Because the thing is, we all know how each other thinks. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know how each other thinks at this point. There's no mystery as to, is somebody like Donald Trump or Tucker Carlson, are they fascist, or are they white, or do they at least cater to white nationalists, saying identity shit? Have they, stoked violence? You know what I'm saying? Versus, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I don't like them. They were not my choice. They were not my my dream team. But there's a lot of dishonesty and just flat out ignorance. Making this false equivalency, saying that like, oh, Donald Trump and Donald Trump and Joe Biden are exactly the same. Because people are refusing to look at the scale and the degree, of how fucked up shit is. I think this is the only one. Looks like it's just me and you, Kent. but yeah, I mean, the numbers are in. the information is all out there for see. There should be no more mystery about who poses the threat to democracy, the threat to the stability of this society, to getting, keeping people working together. And at the end of the day, it's like they have to lose in every way possible. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason why they should have their own propaganda, channel, network, excuse me, Fox, that is able to spew this, super antagonistic shit. In Germany, who experienced, fascism, they took a certain, because a lot of the European countries, they don't have freedom of speech, and so so you could reasonably say that they have, less freedom in that respect, but it's because they've also had to deal directly with the consequences of this super severe shit. Whereas in the U.S., it's always just kind of floated around and dipped in and out. And, the right wing has just in general been ascendant for several decades because they've been able to rally the trifecta of right wing of corporate interests, of the religious fundamentalists, and then the anti-liberal cultural warriors. The people who are, they hate that there's any reasoning or rationality or logic or empathy or any of these other great things about humanity, because they help provide a better answer than that of religion, and they can't deal with that. They have to be able to say no, just follow, or religion or just greed or whatever it is. Their needs tend to be more myopic. And so yeah, I just think that in light of all of this shit, it's not like I'm jumping up for joy that a right winger, died, but it's yeah, I mean, one side, I mean, yeah, it's I do want to say once again though, is that like it's also good to distinguish between degrees of that and which one is, more harmful. So hold on. So while this BLM activist or whatever, this dude who said he's 100% Antifa, who shot the right winger from Patriot Prayer, he may just be somebody whose brain has also been rattled, by a lot of shit, and maybe he just wasn't, he wasn't in a stable, state of mind or whatever. However, what I'm saying, identifying with those groups people who identify with those groups more often tend to, care about no history, to be curious about history. Oh, nobody's here now. Oh well, we can just keep practicing. But it's like nobody else really yeah, but the thing is that like when the tribalism of one side is just arguing for Medicare for all, and they want to get a Green New Deal, and that we want, black people, they want my people to stop being treated like shit by the police, or just anybody really, versus those whom would work with the police and have worked with the police, as militias to, attack or kill, protesters from the other side, so it's, no matter which way you want to slice it, the right wing are the ones who pose the biggest threat to all of us. Looks like nobody else is on here, so I'll just fuck around with these filters for a little bit. What up? I'm going 20 minutes. This is cool. Tribalism. Yeah, but fuck it. Who cares? Who cares? No, I care. It's no, I think that tribalism is an easy out. It's just to be like, oh, you take an extreme position. Sometimes an extreme position is the correct position because all of the other ones are inadequate to actually solving, saying the issue at hand. You know, um, I kind of think of like a fish hook. If you've ever gotten a fish hook in your skin or like seen diagrams of it, a lot of the people's intuition is to just take it and to pull at it, nag it, and try to pull it back. But the whole point of the design is to saying to fuck you up if you try to saying pull it back. Hence the hook. I don't know what the name of it is, but hence the thing done at the end of the hook. So then the way you solve it is kind of counterintuitive. You have to push it through, what I'm saying, and purposefully kind of, harm yourself to some degree, but it's less damage, saying ultimately. And it's the only way that you can actually solve the problem at the end of the day, you know. It's not a pretty solution. It's not the most enjoyable, but I mean, that's life, saying sometimes you got to make hard decisions, and, no, yeah. Yeah, I guess I can go ahead and end it there.